It really depends on what you're trying to do on social media. In the case of tourism, actually going out and interviewing people that are out there having a good time, showing them what's going on, being in the field and sharing something from the field is a great way to show people that you're out there and immersed in your community. So whatever your community is, being immersed in it and documenting it with video is a great way just to kind of share and get content out there. Jeanette, do you have anything else to add to that?
That was good. I'll tweet it.
All right, she's going to tweet some stuff too, so just keep an eye on the SMTulsa hashtag for that.
The only thing that I think I could add is also make sure about comments. People are actually social on YouTube, and many people don't always appreciate that. They just want to share that video, get that video shared. But people do pay attention to what is said on those comments, so be sure that if you get a comment, whether it's negative or positive, just respond in the right way. Don't ignore them. That's the worst thing you can do, is ignore your social customers. Okay, Carlos, he asked, mentioning EdgeRank, measuring for impact, reach, and results, what are some good social media analytics tools? I personally do like Facebook's insights, because they actually do a really good job of nailing it down, drilling it down for you. So if you're paying enough attention, you can definitely take advantage of those numbers and that information. There are others, but personally, from my own experience, I prefer that.
I use a kind of a hodgepodge of stuff. I had been using Raven tools for a couple of different clients that I've worked for in the past. I use Google Analytics, and they have a social tool now in there, so that's pretty cool to use. If you're not using Google Analytics beyond just, hey, people are coming to my site, you're doing yourself a great disservice. It's the best free tool out there, period, bar none. There is nothing that is better that is free for any business to actually see more granular data. I have some JavaScript installed that actually tells me what keyword ranking my website is ranked at when the person comes to the search engine and searches it and comes to the website. So that gives me an even deeper understanding of exactly where they're coming from and how I ranked and why they picked me instead of somebody else that could be a competitor. So there's a lot of different tools. Raven Tools does a really good job of kind of just telling you some granular data and digging pretty deep and finding where people are coming from, what their demographic is, and giving you some of that stuff. But really what they're doing is they're just pulling that data from Facebook and Twitter alone. So it's not like it's anything special or magic, it's just compiling analytics that already exist. So Google Analytics first and foremost. Facebook Insights are a huge value if you're using Facebook. If you're not tracking Instagram, using Statagram is really great. And they have a plugin for Hootsuite too, where you can actually track Instagram comments. So you can't post through Hootsuite on Instagram, but you can post comments and interact and see when people are commenting. So that kind of stuff is really helpful to actually keep track of, how many people are engaging your accounts.
Who asked the question about the YouTube? Do you remember?
Kate McKinnon.
Yeah. Kate.
She's KF Mac.
She's what?
KF Mac. Here's I've showed more personality.
Okay, how to show more personality when you're doing social media for a business that isn't yours. I deal with this on a daily basis because obviously I have clients. I tend to lean to being neutral. Neutrality is a big thing for me. I want to be helpful. I want to be pleasant. I don't want to swing too far this way or that way, because I want to be able to represent my clients in such a way that their customers find them pleasant and helpful. So I'm trying to be a little bit upbeat. I want to reach out to people that have questions. I want to answer them as quickly as I can. The neutrality is just a big thing for me. If you go too far and you try to add too much of your personality, sometimes I've found people will go into their own personal beliefs or their own personal rants. And that's not always good for a business, especially if they've got nothing to do with a particular industry that the rant is going off on. It can be really negative. So the biggest thing that I can suggest for you is just to try to be helpful. People want to be taught, people want to be helped. That's sort of what social media is about, is to reach out to people, to help them, to teach them. And that's something that I also like to say is that if you have a blog, teach people. They want to learn, that's why they're there. So on social, it's sort of the same thing.
I've done Twitter updates for sports teams, and people are going there to find out what is going on with this game that I can't watch or listen to for whatever reason. And I try to interact with them as a fan, just like they are, but I don't want to get on, oh, I can't believe he tried that shot, or why is he fighting again, or whatever is appropriate for the sport. So I try to be to their level, but not over them necessarily, or try to get to their level too much. Just try to be neutral, I guess. I take a slightly more unorthodox approach to it that goes a little beyond just sticking to neutral. And Mandy, I'll get you in a second. I spend a day with my clients when I actually sign them on, or I'm even thinking about signing them on. A day in the life, joining them at their business and seeing what they do, seeing how they act to people, seeing how they treat each other. Gives you a really good sense of the whole brand and the whole work culture around the business. One of the most important things you can do to get a sense of how you should speak in a writing tone as a business is to just be there with them. In my case, I freelance consult with some people. I have everything from a company that sells drug tests to ravers for harm reduction to a Christian movie about recovery. The voice is different. The voice is different, and it's not always neutral. So I think sometimes if you go in there and you just spend some time with the client, get to know their personality, get to know the way they talk, the enthusiasm behind their product, the enthusiasm behind what they're trying to share with other people, you can go beyond the neutral and actually start to echo some of that voice, but it does take some writing skill. So if you're not comfortable as a writer, neutrality is your #1 point to kind of stick to. It's easy to kind of let your own voice kind of start to trickle into everything. If you're really good at setting boundaries and just knowing what your client's voice is going to sound like, it's a really easy way for you to kind of go, okay, I know that my client's not going to be like, that was awesome. Maybe they're going to say, that was a really great experience. So just knowing those nuances by spending some time with them on a regular basis can help you really understand how they talk. Andy?
That's pretty much what I was.
Okay. Okay, yeah, spend some time with people.
Right on brand is the voice to be educated by what the brand of the business is, and how if you walk up to the owner and had a conversation with them in person as a fan or a patron of that business, what would that feel like to you? And the voice that you write in on social media for that business should feel like they just had a conversation with the owner. Exactly. And it's on you to do the work to make sure that you can accurately do that.
Yeah, you want them to feel like the person that's writing that content is actually the person that owns the company. To me, that's not a deceptive thing. They're hiring you to convey that voice. So it's okay for you to sound exactly like the owner sounds. And for me, I call it kind of just chameleoning between accounts. You kind of fit into pretending that you're that owner and pretending that you're talking like they talk. So in the cases of exceptionally difficult clients, which I've had in the past that have a really particular way of sounding, or they're really brash when they talk, or things like that, I've broken up with clients before. Really, if they're not passionate about the product and excited about it in a positive way, you probably don't want to work with that kind of person. So.
What's our next one?
What makes somebody creative? We actually got that one. Creativity is going to definitely be based on the person's experiences, but there are ways to get around not technically being creative. Sometimes just getting into a habit of trying. Such as like when you create a blog. Maybe you don't want to write. Maybe you don't have the time right now, but you have a thought later. You're gonna write it. When you come back to that thought, spend 5 minutes thinking about it, running it over your mind. Go ahead and write what you can. You may erase it 10 times before you get something you really like, but you spent the time, you're creating that habit. Eventually, you learn how to do it. It's very similar with being creative. Being creative on social media can mean a variety of things. It can mean creating that blog post, can be creating that voice in 140 characters on Twitter. It can be like Wade was talking about, and creating that 600 by 900 pixel image that you're going to share on Google+. Being creative can be a variety of things, and you can bring your own creativity to things. Everyone might think it's something different. You can use that to your advantage by being who you are. Social is a lot about being human. You want to be you. You don't want to be a robot. People don't want robots. They want people. That's the one reason that we reach out to somebody on Twitter. We want somebody to respond to us. We don't want an auto, direct message that says, oh, hey, thanks for following. Hey, go look at this link. People get really tired of that really fast. It's not creative. But if you are to, say, reach out on LinkedIn, they have that auto-populated message when you go to connect with somebody. Instead of using that auto-populated thing, you can add your own twist of how you're going to say it. That is being creative. Just changing something from the normal and it just putting your spin on it. It's not hard. Just create the habit of trying and you'll get there.
Not everyone's a naturally creative human being in their mind, but when you make your food each day, you're creating a meal. When you write something to somebody just to say hi, you're creating an email. You're creating every day, and you don't really know that you're creating because you don't consider it high-level creation. But you are a creator. Every single one of us here is a creator. One of the best suggestions I can give to you guys. How many of you guys out there don't think you're a creative person? Okay, how many of those hands, how many of you own The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron? Okay, so The Artist's Way is a book that I was actually given from a friend because I went from majoring in astrophysics to fine art. I was like, I'm really in the wrong field. I love computers and I love programming and I love doing all this awesome stuff that's really super nerdy, but I really just wanted to paint. I really just wanted to paint and make things. I decided to literally just stop my college career, and I applied to Otis College of Art and Design. And the first thing that somebody did is they handed me The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron because I was like, can I really do this? Like, I can paint a little bit, but can I really jam with all these phenomenal painters that are like, this is my life purpose. This is what I was meant to do. And the answer is, yeah, after I read that book, I felt like I could conquer anything creative. So if you don't have it, get it. It's so worth the read, and it's so worth the investment. It's literally like $15 that will change your life. Yeah, Eric?
Are all painters French?
All painters are totally not French. And it's probably a good thing too. But yeah, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron is a really inspirational book. Kind of walks you through the artist's creative process, helps you get into that mindset, and helps give you some exercises that you can do to continue nurturing your creativity. Because I think the thing that creative people have over people that don't think they're creative is that they're nurturing their creativity every day and taking the time to do it just out of instinct. You have to force that instinct to become a part of you if you're not by nature creative. So give that a try.
Thank you.
Also, I sometimes think that people that don't think they're creative, they really are. They just not sure how to express it. And so just try to express yourself. Try to get it out there and just keep trying and you'll get it and someone will call you, hey, you're creative. So just try it and put it out there and good luck.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, you're creative, dude.
Yeah.
So I really like what you said about not thinking that I need to be a creative person, but just thinking about what you can do and making that The way I look at creativity is through problem solving. So for me, every single design problem is an exercise in problem solving. I'm trying to figure out what the problem is, figure out what the questions are, figure out what that pain point is, and then find a way around it, or through it, or under it, or above it, or whatever I can do. So that's where the creativity is. It's not necessarily in, can I create the best logo or create the best brochure? It's, how can I really solve this problem? Maybe you don't need this tool, or maybe you don't need that tool, but I'm focusing on the problem, and I'm focusing on solving it, not on, is this the most whiz-bang looking website? So thinking about creativity in that way, I think is really important as well.
For sure. Yeah.
Carlos Moreno, everybody. Awesome. SMTulsa. All right, so the next question is probably a prize-winning one, in my opinion. Megan asked, where do you draw the line between daily posts and Tulsa State Fair? How much posting is too much? Megan, I am Tulsa State Fair. But not in a bad way, in an entertaining way. I think it depends on what you're trying to do with your social media presence. In my case, I've been online since the beginning of online culture. Everything that's already out there is already out there, and there was a point back in like 2001 where I was like, I need to just let it happen. And what that did for me personally as an online brand is I was able to build an audience cultivated on my vulnerability. I put myself out there, I'm honest. I'm not posting pictures of me in my underwear and going, oh, just struggling to get out of bed today, because that is Tulsa State Fair. That's a little too much information. I'm not putting a lot of personal information out there that could help somebody maybe use social engineering to get things from me, but I am sharing in a vulnerable way. So just ask yourself, when you're posting, is this vulnerable or is this victim? Because if you feel like you're crossing that boundary between being vulnerable and being you and being who you are and to being a victim and being like, I'm fishing for pity posts, I want somebody to say, oh, I feel really bad for you, that's really tough what just happened, or posting too much drama or doing things like that, that's where Tulsa State Fair starts to happen. I write it down, and then I imagine what my mom would think because she's my friend on Facebook. I'm such an idiot for doing that, by the way. But if my mom sends me a message, or if I think my mom might send me a message and be like, Danica, I told you to stop doing that on the internet, it's really bad for your professional career. If I think that might happen, I just delete it. I write it down, and then I look at it, I think about it, and then I delete it. That doesn't happen often because I have a sense of the difference between vulnerable and victim, but I think that's really the difference, is you being open, being yourself, being honest. It's okay to do that. I've had, in the past 2 years, 5 different job offers from 5 different corporate companies in town with tattoos, with my robot pants, with purple hair. People know who I am because I'm vulnerable and I'm out there and I'm sharing, and there's some personal and there's some professional, and it all bleeds together. But the most important thing is that I'm never a victim. So if you're doing something where you're shaping your personal brand, don't be afraid of being vulnerable, but just know that there is a difference between those two.
You did that one.
Oh, and you win a prize, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, awesome book.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so doesn't that in a sense go along with being authentic?
Yes, be authentic. If by nature you're not a overly sharey type person, don't do it, Be real. Be real to your tendencies, like when you're with your friends and you're in a public space and you're telling your friend something, if you're going to her and going, I really need to tell you, I just had this horrible thing you wouldn't believe. And she's like, wow, that's really horrible, I promise I won't tell anybody. Like, don't post that. But if you're okay with somebody like in the bar behind you hearing it, then it's cool. Just know that difference. All right, the next question is, for a business, how many times a day should you be tweeting?
Of course, you have to do your research You have to kind of try something before you get any numbers, before you can actually grasp what's going on, what's going to work, what's not going to work. I do something called what a friend of mine calls a tweet library. I have a document where I have created tweets with valuable information, either from articles that I have read or articles that have been created by the client or myself, however I'm going, and I upload them into Hootsuite through bulk scheduling. Or you can always do that through whatever tool that you like to use for scheduling, one at a time. I typically do 1 per hour. And then aside from these things, I'll go back and I'll look in my feed. I will go ahead and retweet or share items that I'm seeing that are helpful from other people. Because the #1 biggest thing you could do is share other people's stuff. That's what they like. People love to read and love to learn. And they love to see their names go up in somebody's Twitter feed. They love to be able to thank that person. What I've found is most of the time, doing it 1 per hour, probably from 7 a.m. all the way to 5 p.m., while I'm still checking in all through the day. I'll check in maybe 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. I want to be able to respond to those people that are retweeting me. I want to be able to add, if I see another article go by, maybe by, Danica over here that's just shared something awesome. I want to be able to share that even though it's not in my little time frame of my scheduled tweets. It doesn't matter. Who was it that said? Somebody said that social media isn't just till 5 p.m. That's so true. Brian Boyd did. Okay. It's not till 5 p.m. It's not Monday through Friday. It's all the time. So what you've got to do is just figure out what's going to work for your audience and then go with that. It's going to change. That's part of strategy. You've got to be able to change with your audience. What are they going to do? What do they want? But if you start with something as simple as that, maybe scheduling it once per hour, coming in, checking on it, responding, sharing something awesome, then that'll give you a good starting point to where you need to move forward to. And it may not even work. That may not work for you. It's worked for me, but there's been clients where it didn't work. People were like, what is this? Why are you scheduling these things? I don't like this. And so I had to stop, and that's fine. I'm willing to do that. But you've also got to be willing to do that. You've got to be willing to change so that you'll get the most success out of what you're doing.
More or less, figure out what your audience wants. Like I was talking with the sports, you want updates every few minutes so you know what's going on with the game. So you want to do a bunch of updates, but then like a clothing store, you don't need that many really. I mean, post sales, hours, but you don't need to post something every hour. So kind of depends on what it is and figure out what your audience wants, pretty much.
Yeah, I think Eric had a really good stat in his session today that just kind of said 22 tweets a day is kind of like the peak, at which, like, once you hit that, people are like, oh, they're tweeting all the time. It really depends. I have some people that follow me that are like, you took up my whole Twitter feed and you're super annoying, so I just went ahead and unfollowed you. Is that cool? Are we still friends? I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Because I have people that follow me that have like 80,000 friends that are also like, oh, she tweeted today, surprise, wow, I'm impressed. Like, congratulations, way to step out there. So it can depend on your audience, it depends on how many people they're following. Again, stalk them, research them, excuse me, I'm still working on that.
Yeah, like this conference, if you're tweeting SMTulsa, some of your friends are going to get really annoyed with it, and some of them are going to love it. So, heads up there. You might lose some followers, you might gain some, who knows.
Yeah, just go with the flow, test everything out, see what works. I have clients that really don't care how often I post, as long as I get really good, choice nuggets out there. I call it kind of grenade tossing versus peppering with a machine gun. So I'm good at throwing grenades. I'm really good at throwing grenades. I tend to do that for my clients that are not able to pay a lot of money, like if it's a nonprofit or if it's a smaller organization. They're like, all I can do is this much each month. Do what you can with what you can in the time that you have. So in that case, I do grenade throwing for them, and it's way more effective for them. So it just kind of depends on the time you have and the effort you're able to put in, but scheduling helps a lot.
Are there more? I think there are more. Let's see here. Is there a trigger tool?
Is there a trick or tool that will allow you to toggle between different Twitter accounts that you manage? There are tons of tools. Hootsuite, we mentioned, is one. There's TwitterDeck, I don't know if, or TweetDeck, I don't know if it's still working. It's been wonky for me
On
lately.
computers and not mobile.
Not mobile.
They had it at the US, so.
There's new ones all the time, and me and Danica were actually just talking about this a little bit ago. The one thing that you cannot rely on is that a free tool is going to stay free, one, two, always be awesome. That's the one thing that just frustrates us to no end, but it's free. So we can't really complain too much, honestly. And there's always going to be something to replace it. That's the second thing. There's always going to be something coming along trying to make it bigger and better. They're going to be free for a while, and most of the time then they're going to want to pay for subscription. So for that free time, use it. Be awesome with it. Learn it and use as much as you can. And obviously there's going to be ones that you like and then ones that you don't like. There are so many out there that I've tried. Hootsuite is okay. I'm not amazed with it, but I do like some of the things it can do. So I'll use those aspects of it. I'll go over to Sprout Social, which is another one, and I'll use it for other things. Or, like I said,